So we're here today with bassist and guitarist Simon Jermyn, who is home in Dublin from New York. So hello, Simon.
Hello.
You're here to perform with Romer. This is a collaborative project with Matthew Jacobson, Lauren Kinsella and Matt Halpin,
Yeah.
which is running tonight and last night. But tell us, first of all, you've been in New York for
Been there for 7 years.
yeah? And do you feel the Irish jazz scene has changed much since you've left it?
I do. Yeah, I think it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
There seems to be way more musicians, way more people playing. When I was here last, I think in New Park, I'm not sure if the degree course had started, and now it has. So there's loads of musicians coming out of that. And there's loads of venues that I don't know about, and there's seems to be way more bands, like people that are playing together really regularly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems great. It seems like it's really developing.
That's great, yeah. And do you feel, I mean, Romer is quite an adventurous project. Do you feel like the audiences are opening up, like opening their ears a bit more to more experimental sounds?
In Ireland?
In Ireland, yeah.
That's a good question. I mean, last night was the first time that we played,
Yeah.
and it was great. People, there was tons of people, and they seemed really open. They really listened, and they were really positive, and they were kind of inquisitive and curious about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't played in Ireland that much since I've gone to New York. It's kind of hard to have an overview of that, but based on last night, yeah, people were definitely
Yeah.
open. It was really nice.
I mean, and speaking of New York, which obviously has a very vibrant scene for a very long time,
Yeah.
how are things there at the moment? Is there particular artists kind of coming up, or sounds that are of interest, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much music happening there all the time. It's hard to keep track of everything. There's so many scenes and sub-scenes and people passing through. But I think it's a really active, vibrant scene with tons of new ideas and new music happening all the time. And I live in Brooklyn, and I think there's a fairly definable scene that's kind of based around that part of New York, with a kind of a particular aesthetic, even though it's quite broad. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things coming out of that at the moment.
Great. And was there a particular moment for you when you were a child or a teenager that made you kind of decide to go on this particular path with your style of playing, or was there an influential moment or something that happened?
I don't know if there was one in particular. There was loads of moments.
Yeah.
That kind of added up to that. I did a 1 week summer improvisation course when I was 15 in New Park Music Centre that Mike Nielsen taught, and that had a big impact. And then in college, I went to college in the Netherlands, and a lot of bands from New York were touring through there, and seeing some of them had a really big impact. I saw a band of Chris Speed's called Yeah No, and that had a really huge impact. That made me rethink a lot of things, and kind of galvanized wanting to pursue this kind of music, or trying to be yourself musically. That was a very inspiring moment.
And you play with him now, don't you?
Yeah, I do. So it's kind of
Great.
amazing to have. There's been a few people like that.
Came full circle.
Yeah, where if you're listening to their music in college and then getting to play with them or be part of those things. The same thing with the drummer Jim Black.
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to go to New York, because there were so many musicians that I've been inspired by.
Yeah. Great. And what do you have coming up at the moment, or what projects are you working on?
There's a whole lot of things at the moment. I'm going back. Well, I'm going after this. I'm going to go to Portugal and play some gigs. There's some musicians from Porto that I've been playing with on and off for a while. So we're doing some gigs around Portugal, and then when I go back to New York in August, I'm going to play a night at the Village Vanguard with Jim Black's band, playing the music of John Zorn. There's a week of his music there, so that's really exciting. That feels like a big thing. So I'm looking forward to that. And then in September, there's a collaborative trio that I'm part of with a French saxophone player called Jerome Sabag and an American drummer called Alison Miller, and we're doing a CD release show. We made an album. It's almost 2 years ago now, but that's going to come out. We're going to start playing more gigs, and then after that, there's stuff that's up in the air. Hopefully, we're going to play a tour later in the autumn. There's a great Belgian drummer who's played at 12 Points a few times called Lander Geiselink,
Oh yeah.
and he has a trio called Howard Peach with myself and Chris Speed, and we're going to record a second album and do some touring with that. So there's a few things going on.
Sounds great. Hope you can make it to Dublin.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, and where can people find out more about you and your music? Is there a website or?
There's simonjermyn.com, which is not very up to date.
Okay.
But I'm working on that.
Okay.
So
watch this space.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks, Aoife.